welcome back to EnterTheRealWorld.com. This is the Will Be Movies, 25 of our favourite movies from a given decade. Volume 1, we are getting towards the end now. Episode 23 is focusing on the years 2000 to 2009, and episode 23 will be Moon, but I cannot do this alone, and I already acknowledged it's our favourite movies. The hour here, it's me, Matt Waters, and Ben Phillips. How are you?
I'm good. I was less good yesterday.
Yeah? What happened yesterday?
I watched Moon. Good.
Yes, good.
Approved Moon. And then I followed up immediately by going, I never saw Mute.
Yeah, you and everyone else, buddy.
We don't fucking know how many people saw Mute. Maybe Mute was one of the most successful Netflix movies of last year.
Nah, they never
we'll
talk
never
about
know.
it. They never talk about it. Well, you know it's not good.
It's no Bird Box.
Yeah, exactly. It's no Final Space Season 2, which I'm very excited for. It comes out today to date this podcast. It'll probably have been cancelled by the time you hear it.
2 seasons and done for most episodes.
Oh, this is Moon, which is in space, but it is not Final Space. And this was chosen by both of us. The last time I will get to say that sentence as Ben just closes out the podcast. Directed by Duncan Jones, who, until he directed this, was known for being David Bowie's son.
With a great name.
Yeah, Duncan Zoe something Bowie. Or Bowie, depending on which part of this country you're from.
Zowie Bowie.
Yeah, Zowie Bowie or Zoe Bowie.
I prefer Zowie Bowie.
I'm sure you do, but I'm pretty sure it's meant to be Bowie. But anyway.
Well, no, it's Bowie because he's from Brixton.
Is he? I've never heard him say his own name out loud, and we no longer can call him up and ask. Not that I could have done that while he was alive, to be honest. But yeah, Duncan Jones' debut movie, and the only one he made in this decade, because it did come out in 2009. He went on to make the Pretty Good Source Code, and also Warcraft.
Which has the kind of dubious thing of being pretty good Warcraft movie, pretty bad normal movie.
Okay, yeah.
It's just what if we take this game that's real-time strategy told entirely from above and in kind of cool cutscenes and turn it into a 2-hour narrative?
I might start reviewing films this way. It would be a pretty good Warcraft movie, but it's not good as a normal movie.
What would make a good Warcraft movie but not a pretty good movie? Is this a good Warcraft movie but not a good movie?
Avatar is probably a good Warcraft movie. What was the thing with frickin' Tim Riggins? What was the goddamn Mars movie?
Oh, John Carter of Mars.
John Carter of Mars, probably a good Warcraft movie.
I will defend John Carter of Mars, even if it meant Andrew Stanton had to run back to Pixar to do Finding Dory.
Will you do it for 90 minutes instead of talking about Moon?
No.
Okay, let's talk about Moon. So, Duncan Jones did come up with the story, but it was written... It's officially credited to Nathan Parker, but Duncan Jones co-wrote it with him. Nathan Parker's debut script, and I have not heard of a single one of the movies he has written since then. I could list them. I didn't bother writing them down, but I remember looking at them and being like, I've heard of none of these, so...
He did Blitz, Equals, 222, and Our House.
You seen any of those?
Nope.
Right then. So
Equals has Nicholas Hoult and Kristen Stewart in, though. I'm intrigued now.
Everyone's favourite.
35% on Rotten Tomatoes. Nope.
Yeah, there you go.
Nope.
So this was released June 12th, 2009 in the US, July 17th, 2009 in the UK, even though this feels so British. I know you've got two big American people in it, but... So this is our first foray into 2009, so Ben, carte blanche?
Highest grossing movies worldwide in 2009. We've got such classics as Avatar. At that point in time, highest grossing movie of all time.
Yes.
It wouldn't be the highest grossing movie of all time when this movie came out because it came out in December, but then it just kind of
kept making money.
It's that insane thing where it came out at the right period of time where it basically had all of January and most of February to kind of just run at the box office, and then you got the insane stuff people were I don't want to live in the real world anymore.
Yeah, I remember all of that. We at uni, because I did film studies, someone, I think our lecturer brought up Avatar Blues or something like that, and directed us to this, and we were looking at 35 pages worth of forum posts about I stood in the aisle and cried as they tried to eject me and stuff I've seen it 35 times. I don't want to live in real world anymore.
Yeah, I think this is one of the first movies that's you see the kind of proper breakthrough. Obviously movies are doing better internationally, but this feels like that kind of breakthrough moment where international becomes so valuable to kind of a box office gross, where almost 2 billion of Avatar's 3 billion gross came from international markets.
And then eventually we start getting movies before the US, but not yet.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, which I think is number 3, Transformers 3, 2012, Up, the first good movie on this list after Avatar, Twilight Saga: New Moon, Sherlock Holmes, Angels and Demons, Hangover, the third good movie.
Sherlock Holmes is okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I mean, Hangover's okay.
I would rather watch Sherlock Holmes in 2019 than I would Hangover 1.
That is completely fair enough. Alvin and the Chipmunks are Squeakquel. Night of the Museum.
Sorry, they deserve everything they get for calling it Squeakquel. Fair play to them.
I can't remember. Is that the one where oh god, what's his fucking name?
Jason Lee?
No, not Jason Lee. David Cross. Where I don't know if it's the one where they're on a boat and David Cross was like contractually obliged to be in the sequel, but they just put him in a costume the entire time, and he's just like, "Can I go? You don't need me until like the scenes with my face." And I'm like, no, you have to be in the costume the entire time. And then basically he just burnt down his relationships with like mainstream movie studios in the press cycle afterwards.
Excellent.
Like, I didn't want to be there. I did not want to be there. This fucking producer was like making me be on set all the time, and that's why David Cross doesn't do movies anymore.
Yes.
13 Star Trek. I do not want to talk about anything else in this like top 20. It's really bad.
Yeah,
really bad. Highlight, if I scroll down a lot, in 188th place we have Moon.
Yes.
Behind such classics as Taking Woodstock, Harry Brown, The Boondock Saints 2, Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
Oh, I remember that being on shelves.
Extract, which I feel is a movie you would like.
I do like Extract. At one point, I was like, I could pitch Extract for this list, and I was like, it's not going to get on, so I won't bother. But everyone who hasn't seen Extract, go watch Extract. It's quite good.
It's not Mike Judge's best movie.
No, but
of the decade. I'd rather do Idiocracy.
I haven't seen Idiocracy.
Oh, go watch Idiocracy.
I love Office Space an awful lot, but I think Extract is good. I'm surprised it made more money than Moon, but
it made about $2 million more than Moon. And then in terms of good movies from 2009, Divisive Band, or The White Ribbon as it's known everywhere else, A Prophet, Inglourious Bastards, Up, Avatar Again, Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is so good.
Wow.
I love Fantastic Mr. Fox.
You had your chance.
A Serious Man, White Material, Fish Tank, Dogtooth, Antichrist, if you ever want to see someone circumcise a woman on screen. Yeah. You don't. Lots of good movies, but considerably kind of like most of them are less fun than what we are going to discuss today.
Yeah. It's 97 minutes long. All hail the hour-and-a-half movie. Just love it. You are automatically going to get more praise from me if you hover around 90 minutes. $5 million budget, only made $9.8 million. And that feels so criminally low because, I don't know, maybe I've just overestimated how many people have seen it, but I feel everyone I know has seen Moon, and I don't know if they just all caught it on DVD or on television or something.
I have to imagine that they did all catch it on DVD. Did you see this in cinema?
No.
I did. I remember it being a struggle because, like, it wasn't playing at any Odeons or Views nearby. I basically had to beg my friend to drive me, because I wasn't driving at this point, over to, like, the Showcase Cinema in Reading to go watch it. And then we did it, and they came out and said, like, wow, that was great. I was like, yeah, it fucking was. Listen to me when I want us to drive to stupid places to see good movies.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm hypocritical being like, oh, God, why did anyone go see this when I didn't go see it? But I hadn't even heard of it, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like, I knew about it because I think what attracted me to it was I genuinely really like Sam Rockwell.
Oh, who doesn't? What's the rule? Half a star for Sam Rockwell?
Yes, half a star, whole star for Sam Rockwell. The only movie that doesn't pan out for is the movie he won an Oscar for. Yeah, so like, I think it was that, and then also Clint Mansell was doing the score for this, and I was obviously my big Darren Aronofsky fan, and so I was like, I want to see a movie that he does the score for that isn't something like Smoking Aces.
Yeah, I almost talked myself into watching that earlier this year, and then I just didn't.
Yeah, so I went to go see it, and it's just a good, fun, simple, in one location, very British feeling sci-fi film.
Oh yes. It makes a ton of lists of like movies you haven't seen that are great and that kind of thing. And if you are listening to this and you haven't seen Moon, firstly, you're probably not going to enjoy the next hour of conversation, but secondly, go fucking watch Moon. I mean,
it made equivalent to about $250,000 in the UK opening weekend. Only opened in 57 cinemas though. Behind Hopper Prince, Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, Bruno. Basically, it opened up behind, kind of, because it opened in July, it's opening behind kind of like 5 of the highest grossing movies of the year. Yeah. Public Enemies and My Sister's Keeper in there as well, but like...
It doesn't seem like a summer movie to me.
No, it doesn't. This really should have been kind of like early on in the year, kind of... I mean, I guess it would get steamrolled if it had premiered kind of like in the Oscar trench.
Yeah, but it belongs more there than it does against the summer blockbusters.
I think you could quite quite easily kind of play up some of the more kind of like scary elements of the film and release it in like October time.
Yeah, I was going to say, or like a sort of around Christmassy type release, sort of November, October. Oh well, it has happened, and everyone agrees it's good, but no one went to fucking see it. So Duncan Jones had tried to cast Sam Rockwell in a completely different film. They couldn't figure out which part he was going to play, so instead he made a whole film just for him. And Paddy Considine was second option if Rockwell hadn't committed. That also would have been good, I think.
Yeah, Paddy Considine would have been good fun.
So before he was doing films, he was making a lot of TV ads, and he had experience doing effects-heavy ones, so he knew how to do special effects but keep your costs low, a very Deadpool 1 kind of thing. So in addition to it having a tiny cast, filming entirely in a studio, using models instead of CG, his sort of expertise, when they did need to use special effects, he knew how to keep it cheap.
I mean, like, you see it in, there's the one shot they repeat twice in the movie of the kind of like a shuttle with a helium-3 kind of going off, and it's the exact same shot later on in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's one. It looks kind of janky now in.
I think they get away with the repeated shots because of, you know, the nature of what's happening in the plot. It's thematically appropriate, but
it's just like that looks a lot more janky than the model work. Like the model work in this movie looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, models have always looked great. I've been watching the Star Wars movies with my partner recently, and like, yes, there are points you can see they kind of like green screened a model onto a background, but like there are times where it's just all model work, and like, yeah, this looks so fucking good.
Yeah. Speaking of models, they were able to get the model maker from Alien, which was one of the huge inspirations for the movie. Like Duncan Jones wanted to do a sort of classic sci-fi inspired. I think the way he phrases it, it's made for a sci-fi literate audience, which sounds wanky, but it makes sense. And because there was a writer's strike going on during the making of this, he was able to snap up a bunch of people who were suddenly not doing anything and get them on the film. And they also reused some sets from the abandoned Red Dwarf film. So there you go.
I was going to say, like, the set looks really good on this.
Yeah, where his sleeping quarters, that is very reminiscent of Red Dwarf's, certainly the first 2 seasons or 3 or whatever, but nicer looking. And yeah, it's a really good set. It's a 360 set, as you can tell in those bits where there's like the 3 bays or whatever, and he's standing in the middle, and yeah, like they could move the camera everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't realise they came that close to making a movie, because I know like the Red Dwarf Back to Earth was like in 2009 when they broadcast it, but I didn't realise that they got to the point where they made sets for another project.
I mean, I don't know how long it had been abandoned for when he snapped it all up, but yeah, at some point there was some momentum to the point they were making sets, so who knows. Kevin Spacey only agreed to do the film. They had to finish it without any of Gertie's lines, and then he had to watch it, and if he liked it, he would do it, and then he recorded all his dialogue in half a day. So.
And that is the last time we'll speak of that man.
Yes, we will. It's amazing that this computer is voiced by nobody. My final little thing, they've screened this film at NASA, and Duncan Jones was grilled by NASA employees, which seems grossly unfair to me, but hey, I'm sure he took it all on the chin as they were like, why the hell would you mine for helium-3 on the dark side of the moon, blah, 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 blah. I like I'm doing that about actual scientists rather than...
I like you doing the kind of like internet nerd voice, kind of criticising people. It's like,
what is science if not internet nerds writ large? So, they set the scene for the movie with, I guess it's like going to be like a info video about lunar industries or whatever they're called, and it's just sort of saying, this is where we are. The energy crisis was solved. They've got deserts blooming with grass again, and it's all done because they have found clean energy on the moon via helium-3 in the rocks or something. It's like solar charged, and yeah, they deliver regularly to Earth from this station on the moon. And I think, isn't it like each delivery can power 70% of the world or something like that? Or...
probably something
like that. But yeah,
I know they say they are powering 70% of the world.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was probably that then. And we see via on-screen infographic, we see the base that this character works on, and it says like crew 1, contract 3 years. It's like, who the fuck would have taken this deal? And like obviously the shoe will drop later about the exact nature of this, but from the outset it's like, what the fuck? Why would you sign up to be by yourself on this station for 3 years? And we just see him going about his everyday life, driving his little rovers out to check on the harvesters, sending videos back to Earth, sending some of the payloads back, getting haircuts, caring for plants, watching movies, working on a little model village. You know, keeping himself busy.
But you can also tell he's getting, like, increasingly stressed out because you can tell he's at the end of his rope, where he's kind of, like, more angry about certain things, he's getting these headaches, and kind of, like, just kind of generally, like, talking more to things than you probably would think is normal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll see that contrast in about 20 minutes, but yeah, and he says, like, he's thanking them for they sent him a feed of a football game. It's like, it almost felt live, and it's like, and saying how I've only got 2 weeks, but it's not fair on the guy who comes next, when he's talking about the broken the communication satellite that allows live communication is broken, so they're having to do it via videos instead. And it's like, yeah, all these lines on your second watch, because everyone watches Moon twice. Like, as soon as you know the actual deal, you immediately go back and watch it again and like, oh god, it's all right there. Clint Mansell's score right from the beginning is I mean, I feel you should talk about it, because I think you're going to be able to articulate it better than me.
Yeah, it so thoroughly sets the tone so immediately, and it's kind of like, it's less trailery than some of his other stuff, like The Fountain or Requiem for a Dream, but like just immediately sets the tone, sets the mood. This like little plinky plonky kind of like electronic stuff. It's really good, down to the point where, like, I'm pretty sure that Duncan Jones's production company that he runs, that did Mute, uses the Moon theme as its music.
Aww.
So when it pops up on the screen, like, I started watching Mute on Netflix, and then it did the opening bars to Moon, and I was like, okay, I'm into this now.
And then that faded in about 20 seconds?
I'll give it up until, like, Alexander Skarsgård was swimming through a pool, and then, like, 30 years later, panned up behind him.
Okay. I didn't bother watching Mute, just in case anyone is listening to this. Benjamin subjected himself, but
I will pepper in little rants about, like, why Mute is bad throughout this.
Okay. I considered it last week when it was like, right, so Moon's next week. I'll maybe watch Mute, and then I just didn't.
I went above and beyond. I had to rinse the taste out of my mouth. I played the new Pokemon game, and then I watched Empire Strikes Back last night, so...
Ah, nice. You won't see a better Star Wars film for a few after that.
We started Return of the Jedi, and I was like, I like most of this.
Look, we can't.
But then, because it's the special editions,
okay,
the fucking CGI alien comes in and does a song at Jabba's palace. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like this bit.
But Hayden Christensen's finest acting.
We're weeks away from that one.
No, haven't they put him into the end of Return of the Jedi?
Oh no, we didn't finish Return of the Jedi yet.
Okay, yeah.
We stopped after they escaped from Tatooine.
Okay. So yeah, he gets a video message from his wife. He is shown his infant daughter Eve, and then shortly after that he burns his hand because he's hallucinating a woman sitting in his chair. Now, I think it's really fascinating, like, watching the stuff like the video messages from the wife, because I think they do spell out the exact nature of it later on, but you ask all these questions. Look, let's just fucking spoil it. He's a fucking clone. There are clones. Every 3 years they wake up a new clone, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, are these legit messages from the first guy that was like, did the original Sam actually do this for 3 years and then got to go home, and then they were like, what if we just cloned you a bunch, and they just recycled his actual messages from his wife and just cut out anything that would give the game away?
Yeah, I think that's
are they entirely rehearsed, written, directed by some, because there is someone like just at the edge of the screen, there's like a guy like standing right there, and it's like, is that original Sam? Is this someone from Lunar Industries? Is that even their daughter? Like, you know,
I think it's a mix of both. I think it is a kind of like, they have a representative of Lunar Industries in the room, kind of there to coach her on what to say, because she's saying kind of very weird, kind of like non sequitur platitudes.
They keep it kind of vague, because it's like, obviously they're swapping messages, although later on the question comes out about how many of those she's even received, if any of them, and it's always just like, I miss you too, because you can bank on him saying I miss you and stuff like that, and he even notices that weird little glitch in it, and he asks,
there's a cut.
Yeah, he's like, Gertie, and then just Gertie is just silent, and it's like, there you go. You're like, this little sci-fi creep is happening here. And I also have to ask, why subject him to this? Because what we can gather from the messages is that, like, the wife is sort of being like, I might have moved on, or like the marriage is like breaking apart slightly or something.
I think they're trying to keep him on the same track that original Sam Bell was on.
Oh yeah, but it's just
like this kept him grounded for 3 years. So if we kind of like do it in the exact same way, in the exact same kind of like mechanism, it will keep this Sam Bell grounded.
Like, I don't know, you say it kept him on track. By the end of most of them, he's talking to himself and everything. So
Sure, but that's 3 years worth of like being alone, and they can't have him live communicating because they need
No, I
to
know
be...
they can't have him live communicating, but like, could they not just get the real wife to record some fake happy messages on a? I don't know.
I mean, maybe they did only take the kind of ones that were happy, or maybe they were ones where like, well, he left Earth in this state. He's going to remember him leaving Earth in this state where she's moved out, gotten pregnant, and they're kind of like patching it up. But they've got this 3-year rocky period, and so they need to continue this arc. Which in the original one, they obviously end up back together and like they raise the daughter together. But like we need to. This is where he left Earth at this point, and we need to make sure that the same trajectory is kind of kept.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't recognise the actress who plays the wife.
She has a very Irish name.
Yeah, but apparently she's Queen Maeve on The Boys.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness. Cool. She's quite good in that. That's cool. All right, on board. Speaking of actresses, the girl in the chair is definitely Kaya Scodelario from Effie from Skins to a whole generation in this country. That is her sitting in the chair, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, how would that work? Because
like, is it like some kind of like subtle psychic link between
that's what
the two Sam Bells?
Yeah, are they like hinting at some kind of like shared spiritual memory type shit? Because he's never seen adult Eve, and there she is, and it's like, I appreciate that's in there. I almost think they could have pushed this stuff a little bit further, where it's like something non-scientific is going on here. But yeah, it's just there, and
yeah, they do it twice. It kind of more seeds the kind of fact that like time has moved on, but like they don't come back to it. There's no
it's kind of a dangling thread that like they're about to drop the big bomb on you, so it's like you forget all about this. But it's an interesting one for sure. And you know, afterwards when he's getting his hand patched up, Gertie being like, but when I came in the TV was off, and it's like, I think they're very much going for a Hal vibe here with Gertie.
I like that they subvert it quickly enough.
Yes. I think your expectations going into it are like the computer will turn on him or whatever, and it's actually the complete opposite, of course, that Gertie ends up like rebelling against orders and helping Sam do things.
The thing is, I think that's something I like, is that like technically Gertie doesn't rebel.
Yeah, true.
It's just like Gertie just interprets
it.
Yeah, Gertie just interprets his messaging as being like, well, you figured most of it out. I'm not going to hide it from you because you'll just hurt yourself trying to like solve it properly.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not going to murder a Sam.
Yeah. So one interesting thing, I don't even know. So in the cameo in Mute, the whole thing is kind of like played like a court case, and so you go down, you see this kind of like court proceedings happening, and it's Sam Bell with Lunar Industries and the Sam Bell who returns from the moon, kind of like suing each other. And then like one of them kind of goes like, I'm Sam Bell, and then someone in the back goes like, I'm also Sam Bell, and it's like, why is there a third clone at this point?
Are there maybe like 150?
There are, but like, have they dragged the one from the moon doing that current 3-year stint that we kind of like leave up there?
I think the idea is they legally had to wake them all up or some shit. Yeah,
oh, okay. So they're all back. Okay.
Isn't it like, I mean, I haven't seen it, but you know, while doing my research for this, isn't it like the 156 meet their maker or something like that?
Maybe. I wasn't paying attention that much.
And there's like 20 Sam Rockwells on the screen or something like that? I don't know.
There were definitely 3. I didn't look at the background for any more.
Okay.
It probably was like a whole day worth of shooting for him, to be honest.
Probably. Is he the best thing in it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And there's actors in that I like a lot.
Yeah, unlucky. So, while going out to do a check on one of the harvesters, on one of the screens, he starts to see footage of himself with a beard and long hair flickering onto the screen, and he ignores it. But then I think he's still in the base when he's seeing that. But then
he sees in the base, but it's also kind of like, are you really this shit at like keeping the footage like locked down?
I know.
But like obviously like you've got stores, and it kind of like helps later on in the movie that he gets to see security footage. But like the fact that this could leak onto the main screen, unless someone is like doing this on purpose. Maybe. This base needs proper repair work.
Yes. But yeah, then he heads out to check on the harvester, and he has this hallucination in the sort of the dirt that's being kicked up by the harvester. I think he thinks he sees another one of himself, and then he crashes the vehicle.
No, he sees Kaya Scodelario.
Oh, is it her again? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. He awakens...
Scodelario.
Yeah, something like that. Effie from Skins. He awakens in the infirmary. Gertie asks him to stay where he is. And he does stumble on Gertie apparently talking to Earth live, but Gertie cuts it out and claims it's a recorded video message. So the little tests that they're doing, I mean, they spell it out, but like while I was watching it, I was like, oh, obviously these tests are like calibration of the clones to make sure, you know, like at the beginning of a fucking video game where like, look up to make sure that your head is working. I'm thinking of Portal 2 here, but you know.
Say, what is it? Say duck.
Okay, that's not it, but close enough. Yeah, it's like, you know, under the guise of, oh, you've had an accident, we have to test that you don't have concussion or whatever. It's actually like, we have to make sure this clone is like calibrated correctly, and then they like fully spell that out about an hour later. But I was like, oh wow, it's so clever. And yeah, just the stuff where it's like he's secretly talking live and then cutting it out, like that's all great, sort of mild sci-fi. It's not really horror, but you know, like the tension of like something is going on here. And isn't it Benedict Wong and Matt Berry?
It is Benedict Wong and Matt Berry.
I've seen Benedict Wong a lot in the last like month or so. In between Sunshine, Annihilation, this, and I think I've seen him in something else. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. Yeah, and it's like, I guess the video messages that Sam gets, I mean, maybe not every clone is seeing the same two people and they just have whatever the latest two people are. Look, just pretend it's 30 years ago. Because obviously it wouldn't be the same people from before, but like, yeah, I guess it's like, oh, this is your first message from back home or whatever.
Yeah, I'm actually realising you could probably do like a pretty fun kind of like science fiction movie sprint with just Benedict Wong movies.
Yeah.
Sunshine, Moon, Prometheus, The Martian, Annihilation.
Sure, yeah.
He just does. Yeah. Movies that shoot in England with a sci-fi bent, he will kind of just do.
Did Annihilation shoot in England?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure.
There's a shot where Sam is like climbing down. I guess it's like a little, I think it's like the area where he monitors the 4 harvesters and all of that shit. He like climbs down from there and it looks almost exactly like a shot from earlier in the movie, and it's like, again, much like with the launching of the payload being literally the same footage, it's like they're embedding these like repeated scenes into your mind to like really hammer home the motif. And he does have that very disturbing dream where under the covers at the foot of his bed is himself from the end of the movie reaching up, and it's like ah. And again, like you said, like this sort of, if they played up the sci-fi horror aspect of it,
there's enough footage in the trailer that in the movie that you could do a trailer of
that
like
makes it look like it's
that's scarier than it is, like him throwing up blood into the toilet, like the stuff going on with like crashing the vehicle because someone's out on the moon. It wouldn't be hard to you'd advertise it as a completely different movie, but I could see it making more money if you did.
Yeah. Well, it couldn't have made much less. I don't know if it would have made it a better movie if they played this stuff up more like within the movie, if there had been more of it in the movie as well. But they do definitely kind of abandon any pretense of sci-fi horror in favour of like absurdist comedy almost quite quickly. But yeah, I don't know. They could have done a little bit more with is he alone up here? It feels like they're trying going on.
It feels like they're kind of like trying to pad out time with like Sam before the other Sam kind of like starts interacting with him.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff here that's kind of like, we'll see these things that aren't necessarily related to the core thing, that kind of like hint of where the story's going to go by the end. But not that they're struggling, but they're definitely kind of going like, well, we just need to have a little bit more to kind of just to waste time until we get to the point where we can introduce the two of them, because it's a super thin premise after this, where it's all super interesting because Sam Rockwell commands the screen, and it's all like they're super well designed and super well shot and everything like that. But like, it takes about half an hour for them to actually start interacting with each other, doesn't it?
Yes.
And then like after that, we're off to the races, and like everything starts kind of like falling into place. Where the only thing that kind of like takes a while for them to figure out is why the communications towers.
And then they figure it out and don't do anything until the end. I was like, okay, you're just going to look at them. You don't want to take them down now, okay? But yeah, I almost think they could have filled this first half hour with like almost done a Sunshine, where they're like leading you down the path of one genre, and then suddenly boom, something else, but not as badly as Sunshine did that. But yeah, they could have filled the first half hour with more like what's going on here, and then surprise, comedy clone film. But yeah, he continues to be denied access outside, so he sabotages part of the facility to force Gertie's hand and let him go out and check that they don't need to do repairs. But instead he just fucking makes a beeline for the crashed harvester.
I do like this, where Gertie just like, there's nothing wrong outside. And he just like, yeah, but what if there is? It's like, right, but there's nothing wrong.
Just to check on the outside. Yeah, of course. Doesn't even look. Just drives straight for it. He could have actually caused some damage with what he did. Who knows? Yeah, he goes to the harvester. He finds the crashed rover with the previous Sam inside, and he brings it back to the facility. Do you want to know how dumb I am? Not just the first time, did I not grasp that the Sam in the rover is the Sam we saw for the first half hour. The second time I didn't grasp that either. Even knowing there's clones, I took it 100% literally. Crashes the rover, wakes up in the infirmary, and then I was like, oh, it's like the cycle just repeats. And I was like, no, that's the fucking Sam you just saw, you dickhead. Anyway, that was several years ago, though. I get it now. Trust me. I promise I'm smart. I watch Rick and Morty. I like the touch of him when he's about to go out, finding that his suit is missing, so he has to take a spare one, and that one of the rovers is missing. It's just all very like, are you this? I don't know if he should immediately leap to clone, but I think he should be a little bit more freaked out than he is, that like he's the only one in this facility, and for some reason a rover and a suit are missing.
What I quite like is I think like it sets him up for being quite accepting when he meets the clone, because like initially the other one is a lot more kind of like,
yeah, new Sam is far more accepting of everything that's going on than old Sam. I wanted to call him original Sam, but very much not original Sam.
I mean, that's the thing, is we can't even call them like by numbers, because this is Sam 4 or 5.
Sam 6 is the one that woke up at the half hour point.
Okay, so Sam 6, Sam 5,
and then Sam 7 is the one they wake up at the end.
Yeah, so like Sam 6 is
I'm
kind
not
of
calling
like...
them Sam 6 and Sam 5. I'm going to call them new and old, or new and original. I don't know which, but yeah.
No, originals on Earth.
I know, but just look, when I was writing it down, I was writing original as in the one we first saw, but I realise that isn't narratively appropriate, but I will probably forget to correct myself, so if I do, just laugh at me and we'll keep going.
Apparently the subtitles credit them as Sam Bell clone, and original Sam voice.
Okay, what about the third one? Oh,
the third one never speaks, so they don't have to put him in the subtitles.
Wonderful. And they also keep hammering home this, every time he's in the rover, it says searching for long-range comms. And it's just like, when you finally are gonna... It's like, you desperately want him to get the long-range communications. But he apparently spent however long driving out in these things and just hearing that and be like, oh well, they'll fix it when they'll fix it.
I like the element of kind of Gertie going like, oh, it's very far down on their priority list. Like, we can still communicate with the station, we just can't do it live. Yeah. So, like, it's not high on the priorities. It's not like you've completely blacked out in terms of it. And it's a believable enough excuse that, like, a company that is being as cheap as they are.
They're making however many millions of dollars out of this.
Oh, sure, but that's how a corporation works. Is they kind of go, like, well, the margin rate on us getting this fuel is 10%, and that 10% is entirely devoted towards the fact that we invented fucking cloning. And basically, like,
yeah, that is the sort of the part of this where it's like, hang on, you solved the energy crisis, and then just on the side, you also perfected cloning to the point
that like we don't view them as humans. They are literally just a workforce. We've put them in a way that they will disintegrate within 3 years, willingly incinerate themselves.
Wow, so stupid that they will incinerate themselves. That's the other part of this. I do think Sam Bell is a bit dumb, but he is also like an astronaut. So.
I like that he gets inside the thing that like incinerates them and is just like, this will take you back to Earth. And it's like, there's no way out of this room.
Yep.
Like there's no
hatches. There's nothing. Sure, it'll take you back to Earth. Why not? And they repeat this, once he's gotten that second Sam back and, drops him, like, fuck you. They repeat the whole scene of him waking up in the infirmary. I think Gertie's dialogue is identical as well, almost. Or it's just like, oh, you're in the infirmary, and you see second Sam standing there, arms folded in his shades and everything. And because he's not speaking, it's just like, Gertie, is there someone in the room with us? And it's just like, I think you should rest, Sam. And it's just like, oh, fuck you, new Sam. Like,
I do like the subtle things they do to differentiate the two performances.
New Sam's kind of a dick. Old Sam is a fucking mess.
Yeah, like he's a mess. They've put the kind of like the bandage wound, on his to kind of like visually differentiate them. And obviously like they have made Sam Rockwell up to be a lot more disheveled and a lot paler than the original one. And obviously it only gets worse. But even at this point, it's like there is you never feel confused about which one is which is for a movie like this, it's actually quite impressive because you watch these fucking things with clones and it's always like, oh, which one's the original one? We can't tell because they're visually identical, but they actually do enough of the shorthand to like.
And he's carrying himself differently. Like the first one is almost military-esque. Like he looks like he's in better shape. Like he's sitting there doing the speed bag and everything. And older Sam, he's like more hunched over and like.
You can tell he's kind of gone like, I don't want to exercise anymore. I'm bored of the exercising. Instead, I'm going to focus on my model of the town we grew up and watering these plants. I'm not interested in speed bag and jump rope anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So first Sam recovers, fifth Sam recovers. recovered. Look, the first Sam we saw in the movie recovers. Gertie confirms they are both Sam Bell, and he tries to like bond with this new one, but new Sam ain't having any of it. So I really like his Sam Rockwell's acting when he's like, I don't understand, and he's like crying, but it's not a proper cry. It's just that sort of instant, just sort of whimpering of like, I just don't get it, and it's just like, yeah, I think he nails these tiny little moments of just like a 5-second breakdown, you know, and then just getting his shit back together. And yeah, new Sam like deliberately punching the speed bag so that he can't hear him, and he keeps having to like, what? And it's like, you know he's talking to you, just stop hitting the bag.
Doesn't he move over there as well to like be more on top of the sandals that he doesn't want old Sam to take?
Yeah, those are mine.
They're being so petty.
Yeah, and you know, he's like frowning on him talking to the plants, irritated whenever he mentions the idea that he's the original, and a heartbreaking moment when original Sam, old Sam, he's like, I'm so lonely, will you shake my hand? And he won't do it. And it's just like, he's been without human contact for what he thinks is, well, it has been, I guess, 3 years. And just like anything, just to touch a human. And, you know, you say a sentence like that and it sounds silly and whatever, but like, yeah, like, I think that would very much be a thing of like, affirm that I am real by touching me, almost. And just new Sam's like, no, just walks away. It's just like, oh, and like it immediately makes you dislike the newer Sam and feel so sorry for that older one. But what I truly love, is when they play ping pong. Just how furious the newer Sam is when he's like telling him like what to do. He's like, I know, like just fuck you, and like taking like part of his jumpsuit off. And
I love that he goes like, you're holding the bat wrong.
Yeah,
and like,
well, 19 too.
His whole demeanour, where he's holding it in just his kind of like incredibly professional way, and what I did find quite funny is because immediately after this, like he starts practicing against himself.
Yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, that's how I got here. That's how I can beat you nonchalantly, just standing there while you're like giving it everything. I just love the speed of their rally as well. That he just beats him so quickly. He's like, fuck. It's perfect. Yeah, him folding because they fold the table down and then he folds it back up, and it's like, yeah. Well.
But I also just appreciate the fact that like when I first saw that scene and he goes like, so how long did it take you? I thought he was talking about how long did it take you to get good at table tennis, and then you realise, oh no, he's asking how long it took him to build the model. Like he's had so much time that he's both become good at table tennis and has also built this model village.
Yeah, and I like that he acknowledges that I only remember doing these 2 buildings, and it's like, is that the thing? This is 6 Sam's worth of work, or do they assume that the previous person, not me, definitely not me again, had started this and I'll carry it on, or is it just going to be like, oh, I guess I did it all, but I only really remember these last 2, or so, you know, it's like it can work as all 3 almost. Yeah, and just so they're told that a team are going to come and repair the harvester, and older Sam is like, oh cool, I can go home, and they start arguing about whether the clones are already up here because of the speed of which this new Sam, it's like, you know, come on, you think they sent me from Earth to here in like, what, a day, 2 days or something like that? Yeah, and so they call it Rescue Team Eliza or something like that. Eliza was the name of a computer program developed at MIT that was like able to mimic talking to a therapist via like a text chat, and it gave really like banal responses similar to Gertie, so I think that is supposed to be the reference there, but it almost applies more to Gertie than it does the team, but yeah, either way.
I like when they flash up the images of like the rescue team that's coming, you look at them, you go like, they don't look like the kind of people you'd hire to work in space and be able to fix equipment. Obviously, they can fix the equipment.
They are there to fix the harvester as well, though.
Yeah, I know, but like they look
potentially
like
murder a clone. And I think they are 3 crew members, as in of the cast and crew. I think one of them's the producer, and yeah. I like that new Sam grasps the whole situation so much quicker. Like, he's literally a fresh pair of eyes, as it were, whereas the one that's been up there for so long is just, I don't know, it's that whole thing of like, you know, you talk about how people are too set in their ways to change, and how like you're better at learning languages in the early years of your life, and you're more likely to successfully learn to drive if you do it at like 17 versus your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. And it's like that being applied here, where like older Sam has 3 years of a defined sense of self, whereas this new one is almost a blank slate. So it's like he just readily takes to all of this, and he just sets himself about trying to like uncover discover it all, and he mentions the communication satellite and all of this sort of stuff. It's a good beat where like the old one is like slow to accept it all and is only ever like 1 foot in until they like literally find all of it.
The one thing I'm a bit confused by is not confused, but like I love that you can kind of get the geography of the whole set. It all feels very connected, and you can kind of tell how different rooms come off, and you kind of get this big tour. And the first big tour, when new Sam is kind of like running around trying to find out where the secret room could be, and like kind of like wrecking stuff, and old Sam's just kind of like sat there at the table, kind of going like, "Can you stop? Like that's the food. That's the food. Stop this, please." But he never makes it into the room where they leave.
Yeah, I know. It's like, where is this room? Why does old Sam know about this and new one maybe doesn't?
It's such a weird thing where, like, whenever they show that corridor, because presumably it is a part of a different set where, like, it's the Red Dwarf set as opposed to the bespoke big set that they've made, it feels like it's kind of, like, in a weird way where, like, I can't figure out geographically within this station where that room is.
I think the Red Dwarf stuff, it's one of the corridors, it's the sleeping room, and then it might be that, like, incineration room, I don't know. But yeah, I think it is. Certainly they talk about corridors being reused, but yeah,
it's just one of those weird things where like they never go into that room explicitly in the big hunt, and it's like you probably would have found something. You would have found the ash at least.
I would think so. I like that they lead you down this. You sort of are expecting the hatch to be revealed to be under the model, like where he's like, oh, it's under there, like let's move all of this, because it's like it's the one thing that he would never move or whatever, and you're like expecting, because he's like, don't touch my model or whatever, and then when he flips it, he's you're devastated for him, and they have this literal terrible fight, but like he's like jumping on his back and like grabbing at him, and he's very like, can you just put the knife down and everything. He's like, I'm not going to stab you with it, but like no. And then like once he's got the knife out of his hand, he then just leaves him alone, or it's a scalpel, I guess. You're expecting once this sort of scuffle's died down for them to move it and like it will be under there, but it's not. They just now have this like horrible awkward thing that happened just dangling in the air. But then you also get where older Sam is bleeding like really profusely from a very minimal amount of force, and it's because of the whole clone degradation thing where I guess they can only build them with like a 3-year half-life, or maybe they've deliberately done it because of the length of the contract, or I don't know, but this is definitely a thing in sci-fi, and maybe based in real science with clones that break down over time or whatever. Definitely it's in Metal Gear Solid, which is a font of just pure scientific accuracy. And I do like that new Sam feels like bad, that he's like, oh geez, I barely touched you, man, like what's happened? And he's like, he does seem concerned that he's like gushing blood from his face. Yeah, and then you see Gertie doing frowny faces as yeah, I do like the little smiley face thing.
Emojis before we knew he needed emojis.
I know, right? And then he answers, like, old Sam asks him a lot of questions, and he's like, how many hours have I put into this model? And I think he says like 300 or 800 or something like that. And it's like, it's how many this Sam has put. It's like, how many have I put in? And you get the idea. This isn't the total amount of time spent on this little village between all of the Sam clones. Or maybe it is, I don't know. It is a long time. Telling Gertie about how Tess briefly left him, asking if any of his messages are getting to her, and just being like, I can only account for what happens in the base. And it's just, you're still waiting for that turn by Gertie, but it goes the complete opposite direction. And Gertie full on confesses, like, oh, you remember when you arrived, there was a crash. There was no crash. All of your memories are uploaded and edited and everything. And just how devastating that is to hear. And again, that raises questions about, like, presumably the original Sam did do this for 3 years, and then they approached him and were like, how would you feel about us cloning you? I doubt they asked him. I don't know.
I don't think they asked him.
Maybe.
That's my take, is that this happened and they just did it without informing him that they were going to be doing it.
I sort of thought the idea was that original Sam down on Earth is disgustingly wealthy now, like for hush money or whatever, but I don't know, maybe I'm inferring things.
Well, we never had a proper sequel, have we?
No. But yeah, just the idea of the edited memories is, I think that potentially could have been explored more as well, but who knows? So the two of them head out in rovers, theorising that the long-range communications are being intentionally blocked rather than the satellite is broken, and sure enough, they each find a jamming tower, and then original Sam vomits some blood. Older Sam vomits a bunch of blood, so he heads back, but he does end up finding the secret chamber of all the clones, the Chamber of Secrets, if you will. So I like how they sort of switch roles briefly, where it was kind of like new Sam was deliberately not listening to older Sam by like punching the speed bag and everything, and then you get older Sam refusing to stop listening to Walking on Sunshine. He's like dancing in his face and stuff, and throwing it across the room. Oh, speaking of which, like, I love that his alarm clock is "I am the one and only." And
I am the one and only.
Yeah, it's like, you're not though.
So at this point when he like is dancing along like a madman,
yes,
I'm not sure why. Is it just kind of like he's completely dissociating from like the events? Because it feels like,
I think he just finds it all so absurd and he can't deal, so he's just acting petulant. I don't know.
Yeah, it just feels like a weird response at this point where like his entire world has been confirmed to be like crumbling away, to kind of go like, right now I'm going to be a child. I'm going to be...
Yeah. You look like a radioactive tampon. You look like a banana with a yeast infection. Yeah. And I like that newer Sam immediately tears that thing off and like... I don't know if he's in his underwear at that point and a t-shirt, but yeah. I like that he is so bothered by him, that he finds him so irritating. I just think that's a really good little beat. It's now almost been done to death, but like, it's something that I know Matt Groening in Futurama would talk about, how he really enjoys it when a character meets a version of themselves, whether it be a clone or an alternate universe version or a past version. He really likes the idea of them like not being able to stand each other. And Paul Rudd of Mute fame, and he has made a Netflix movie about just that, and I'm sure it's terrible, but yeah, I kind of like that vibe as well. I agree with Matt Groening. All of the throwing up blood, losing the tooth, and then like putting his hand in the toilet to get the tooth out. It's like, geez, don't do this. And from this point onward, it is just a relentless, let's see how awful we can make this very attractive man look, you know? Like, and in Act 3, he looks like proper awful, but yeah, sitting there throwing up all this blood, losing the tooth, all of that. All gross. We see him unlock the logs. Like, Gertie puts the password in to let him...
I like how kind of nonchalant Gertie is about it. Like, yep. Gertie makes the base level of, like, emotions early on, where, like, whenever Sam goes, like, it goes to Gertie and asks, am I a clone? And then Gertie goes, like, are you hungry? I can make you some food, and, like, deflecting immediately.
Is there someone in the room? You should get some sleep.
Yeah. And then, obviously, like, it just kind of, like, spells it out quite blatantly later on. And then you get this scene, which obviously, like, Gertie's slowly making its way as Sam can't put the password in, and then you reach your hand up and you think it's going to do something bad, and then just reaches by, types the password in.
Types it in, and then just you see the various Sams like talking to themselves, not looking very well. And I think, is it at this point he also sees all of the like the escape pod or the
he sees the cremations. He sees the room goes like the like bright flash.
Yeah. You also see a close up of his hand, and like he's wearing a wedding ring. It's like, did the company just like buy like 150 wedding rings from the same supplier and just put each one on these clones? Like, probably. And then he does go and investigate the alleged departure pod, draws that clear conclusion that this thing just incinerates them, whatever's left of them anyway. And he digs up the floor and in that room, and when new Sam gets back, they go down there together, and it's not that there's one or two, there's dozens. There, I think, are over 100 in there. And the score here, right, really changes, and I really like it. It takes on this sort of like childlike discovery type vibe to it, whereas like in most sci-fi you would expect this to be a like heavy synth, like like, you know, like, oh my god, the implications, but instead it's treated as like, ooh, look at this lovely thing we've found. But that's obviously not the narrative implication. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I really like that sort of juxtaposition there. And like none of the reveals in the film are treated in the way that sci-fi normally treats them. Like it's not a like surprise type film. They just kind of...
No, you kind of know something's up, and then when the movie wants to give the information to you, the movie just kind of like tells you the information, because I like that it kind of goes like, there's no reason that they're intelligent, and there's no reason why this information would be withheld from them. Like, it's like the corporation is so high on its chances of like the clones never figuring out that they're clones. Like, they're just kind of like confident that, oh, like they'll be incinerated, only one will exist at the same time, we'll lock the security footage behind a passcode and stuff like that. There's no reason why they would ever suspect that there were clones. So we're not even going to program into Gertie that Gertie can't discuss this with them.
Yeah.
And like, we will give them enough to do, and we will kind of like like say like, oh, it's dangerous to go further out of the kind of zones. They won't ever find out about why the communications towers exist, and like all these different things will happen, and it's just that complacency that like we don't need to invest more into this. We don't need to put in safeguards because it's never going to happen, and it does happen, and it really comes to bite them in the arse. I like that kind of like capitalist complacency vibe that they've got to this.
Yeah, or that like they did the absolute bare minimum of like, hey Gertie, don't tell him he's a clone of me, and they didn't bother to like add in extra logic of if he asks you can't confirm or anything like that. They just like, oh, I'll just put one line wherein just don't tell him he's a clone, and then they just left it at that because like, yeah, it'll be fine. I agree. This sort of like, I don't know if it's subtle, but the secondary thing of like criticizing capitalism, all for. So original Sam older Sam drives beyond the jamming perimeter, calls home, and realizes halfway through his conversation he is speaking not to some random woman, but his now 15-year-old daughter Eve. His wife is dead, and he hears off screen his own voice and quickly hangs up. Now, I don't think that Kaya is a bad actress. This scene is weird, and I don't know if she's trying to do an accent she can't do, or if it's deliberately, like, it's weird direction or something, but she's awful here, I think, personally. Or it's off-putting in the way it's delivered, I don't know. But it's very robotic, and...
Is she off Skins at this point? I've got no idea how the timeline of Skins lines up with this. Because obviously, like, she's mute for the first 2 seasons of Skins.
She is.
And then, and then obviously she's the lead for 3 and 4.
I think this was around when she was going to have started having her, like, spotlight in Skins, yeah, because I had just started uni, I think, when her series had started, and that was... Oh, actually, no, that would have been, like, 2007, 2008.
Series 3 aired in 2009, so it would have been the same... They probably would have filmed it at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, but I don't know, but I just think she's not great here, and she's generally fine to good, so I don't know what happened. I don't know if they gave a weird direction, or they just didn't give a shit, or what, but I think she's real bad. And then, yeah, his breakdown, the music, the shot of, like, the camera pans around the side of the rover and below it and looks up at the Earth, and it's all really beautiful, but against this man just falling completely, like, disintegrating, like, having to absorb all this information, and, you know, the classic sci-fi of, original Sam is there, or whatever. And, like, not even taking into account the fact, surprise you're a clone, but then also surprise it's been 30 years, or 15 years, I guess, technically. Yeah, that's the other part where this lost time. So, while he's out doing that, new Sam has Gertie awaken a third clone, and their plan, or his plan, is to dump this new one into the crashed rover, and then when the rescue team come and find that clone, he'll remain behind and be the freshly awakened one, and old Sam can get launched back to Earth. The helium-3 delivery mechanism. Before that, like, you get older Sam teaching new Sam how to carve properly, and, like, you know, you're holding the knife, like, wrong, you need to, like, cut, like, close and away, and like, them starting to actually bond after all of this bickering and stuff, and, you know, seeing original Sam just constantly feeling cold, blood coming out his nose, showering fully clothed, just looking a fucking wreck, you know, and newer Sam having to nag him to put his hat on, and when he gets in the little helium hatch, being like, you comfy, he's like, no! It's just like being like really grumpy. It's a funny little beat. This stretch of the film is intended to generally just be very sad, and they threw in this little funny moment where he's like, put your hat on, God. Obviously, because of his condition, old Sam, quite rightfully, is like, look, put me in the rover, you go home, and we'll just leave the spare here, and that can be the one they woke up. And, yeah, new Sam agrees, and with only seconds to spare, he programs one of the harvesters to collide with the jamming tower, and then launches back to Earth, just as the team are arriving. So, the two of them, as they're driving out to the rover, like, going back and forth on the story of how they ended up with Tess, only for, like, the older Sam to, like, drift off in the middle of it. It's, like, it's sad, it's beautiful, it's poignant.
I like that they kind of confirm he doesn't die, because they put on the helmet and he's still kind of, like, subtly breathing.
Yeah, and he gets his moment watching Sam fly overhead, which is really nice, I think. Yeah, and the score throughout is great, but, like, there are key moments I highlighted, and this was one of them, of it here as the whole escape is happening. Gertie points out, you have to reboot me, because they will find everything out if you don't, because they will review all the security footage, and what happened with me and everything. So just willingly lets itself be offed and rebooted. And
I like that they do this, but there's like 3 steps of kind of like confusion in there where like you think these people would show up and they'd be like, huh, he's still in the medical room. Like, you think the clone would have like woken up more by this at this point. There's like 3 days worth of memory loss from Gertie at this point. That's weird. And then obviously then Sam Bell ends up on Earth and starts suing the company.
That's the thing. It doesn't really matter how much due diligence you do. Sam was always gonna probably tell the press when he got home. Yeah, but it's still like this. If you consider there's only really 3 characters and 2 of them are the same person, this little moment with Gertie is quite touching when he like turns around to give him the switches to turn him off, and then he like takes the kick me sign off the back as a little sign of respect or whatever. Although like new Sam wouldn't have this relationship with Gertie, so maybe he's taking it off because he's like, that's juvenile, and it's something that he would have done in like year 2 or something. I don't know.
Like when you're like lost on there, like you don't know. It's that weird thing where like a lot of the station looks really run down, and you don't know how much of it is. Do they implant enough memories of having done this stuff, or are they supposed to be like?
No, he thinks he's been there for a week, doesn't he?
Right. Okay.
I think he asks him like, how long ago did you get here? And he's like, 3 years. How about you? A week or whatever. Yeah, so it's meant to be like early. I don't know. They replay that you're in the infirmary scene again with the newest clone, who does start to like twitch his fingers and stuff, and you think we're going to have to deal with that, where like that one is going to wake up and be like, what the ever-loving fuck is going on? But they don't really do that.
I mean, it'd make the movie half an hour longer, just have them rerun that start of the movie again.
Yeah, and then the film just ending with that live feed available thing on the screen and the audio montage of him giving testimony. And then it's like their stock prices have slipped. But then the very last line is like someone, like a shock jock, essentially being like, oh, he's a lunatic, just lock him up. Next call. And it's like that almost sinister, it doesn't matter, they will persist type thing. You know, like they'll get over this, like they'll rebound, they'll rebrand, and it will just keep going. But then obviously Mute has like the company still exists, but they are being sued.
Their stock prices have fallen, but they're obviously still kind of like
they're still going.
Yeah,
they label him Clone 6. And I think on the commentary, Jones says that he's got a canister with him in the little escape thing that contains $15 million worth of helium-3 so that he can like be rich in his only 3 years of being alive or whatever, which is fun, I guess. But yeah, I think it's a very traditional sci-fi ending of like, on the one hand, he's broken the cycle a bit, like he's allowed him live communication, but you have to think that they would actually just repair the jamming tower probably, and also maybe it is gonna continue on, but then Mute obviously does what it does. But yeah, I think it is bonkers that he gets out of that thing with like less than 3 minutes and like goes and programs the fucking harvester to run into it. But whatever, it's fun, and like seeing the guys step through the door literally just as he's sealed himself away or whatever, and like, Sam, buddy, we're here to muddy you. It's a great film. It's so well acted by Sam Rockwell and so well scored, and it looks really beautiful you don't see a lot of sci-fi like this anymore. I think there is also so much fertile ground to have explored some of this even more, and it's a shame that what he eventually came out with was Mute. And it's not that it needed a sequel,
which is a script he wrote beforehand.
Did he really?
Yeah, Mute was a script they had before.
Is that probably what he was going to try and get Sam Rockwell to be in, maybe?
I can imagine him courting Sam Rockwell for the Paul Rudd character, or maybe the Justin Theroux character.
The paedophile.
Oh, God, that movie's bad. So I think it's interesting to talk about this in context of kind of like where Sam Rockwell was at this point. Like, this is probably Sam Rockwell's best leading man performance, because Sam Rockwell's kind of very much more of a flavouring you kind of put into a movie as opposed to a lead.
Yeah, you toss them into Charlie's Angels and watch them chew the scenery.
Exactly. It's like he chews scenery, like he does chew scenery in like The Green Mile and Confessions of a Dangerous Mind and Galaxy Quest. Way back.
Yeah, he's good in that.
Like Galaxy Quest, he's so good in.
Yeah. Choke he's in. I don't think that's a good movie, but I think I remember him being good in it.
He chews scenery in Iron Man 2.
He does. Oh, fuck yeah.
Which it's quite funny that like this and we've done Wrestler and this back to back, and then obviously both of them, I think their first role after those movies is they do Iron Man 2.
Yeah. It is the one true constant for all actors. They will have their potentially best acting performance, and then they will make Iron Man 2.
And then obviously, almost 10 years later, he does 3 Billboards.
Yes, he does. And he made that awful-looking film with Anna Kendrick, where he's a hitman. And
like, that's the thing is, I feel like now that he's won his Oscar, like, kind of like the strength of Sam Rockwell is kind of like starting to dissipate. And like, he's not bad.
I really want him to do better. I want him to be in more films. Good films. I don't know. Why isn't he?
I mean, like, he's done enough kind of good things. I mean, like, I enjoy him in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but then he's, like, completely nothing in Vice. Like, where he plays George W. Bush, and it's like... And he got an Oscar nomination for that.
Did he really?
Yeah, he got an Oscar nomination for playing Bush in Vice. And he's in, like, 2 scenes. It's this weird thing where, like, he goes from being someone who I'm excited to see in all these movies, where he's great in Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I will go see Jojo Rabbit, even though I'm not convinced I'll enjoy Jojo Rabbit, but like that feels like a good use of Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
He's not in Seven Psychopaths, is he?
He is in Seven Psychopaths,
okay.
yeah. He's good fun in Seven Psychopaths. I just think Seven Psychopaths is a massive step down from In Bruges.
Well.
Apparently he's going to be in Richard Jewell.
Okay.
Which is the new Clint Eastwood movie about the guy who was suspected of being the Boston bomber.
I'm not on board for Clint Eastwood's Republica manifesto.
No, the Atlanta bombing.
Anyway, Sam Rockwell and more things, please.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell, good, but like it feels like the last couple of years he's gone from being like something I look forward to being. I mean, like, and he's always done bad stuff. Like G-Force, he's in. He did Cowboys and Aliens. He's in The Sitter. But even when he's in something kind of like not great, like Iron Man 2, he's the best thing in it.
Yeah, generally. Yeah.
And then you get this, where he is the only thing in it.
I was going to say, right, so the writer goes on to do very little. Duncan Jones makes one more good movie.
Which he didn't write. Is the one movie in his oeuvre that he did not write.
Okay, that's important to know then. How did they manage to capture lightning in the bottle and make a tremendous movie in their first at-bat, and then just go on to do almost nothing? And is it just that, like I think it would have worked with Paddy Considine. I think it would have done even less money than it did with Sam Rockwell. But is it just the strength of getting the right person and the right aesthetic and stuff?
I think it's literally a combination of all those things, where Sam Rockwell was the right person at the right time to do this. Like, he could front this movie. Duncan Jones wrote a story, and I think he doesn't have issues as a story writer.
Yes.
Like, I can see there's an interesting version of Mute that probably could exist. It probably would need to be handled by someone with a bit more subtlety, and someone who isn't trying to jam it full of kind of like Blade Runner-esque hand gestures. And so maybe you have a writer who does have a grasp on structure that kind of comes in and crafts this into a thing that's interesting. Is it Nathan Alexander?
Nathan Parker, I think.
You have Nathan Parker, who obviously has the strength for kind of like a structure of a movie.
Or does he? Because he's written nothing notable.
But maybe he just hasn't had an idea. Like, it took Duncan Jones to have the idea. It took someone with a base level ability to write. And then you have to wonder how much of this movie was improvised on set.
Look, I'll tell you what would fix all of this. Just get Alex Garland to write Duncan Jones movies.
I mean, yes, but Alexander Garland is done doing that now. Now that he's...
Yes, now he's directed 2 films.
Yeah, as was recently pointed out by our sister podcast, Superhero Pantheon, like, Alex Garland got kind of like a taste of directing a movie with Dredd. He's not the credited director, but obviously he... Like, I think the surrounding mythos around Dredd now is that, like, Garland took that movie to the finish line, and even Carl Urban's like, yeah, no, he directed that movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's Alex Garland's baby, not Pete Travis.
Look forward to Ben and I reviewing Dredd in a future episode, even though we said we wouldn't.
Yeah, we'll do Dredd, and then we have a coin flip of which one, whether or not we do Ex Machina or Annihilation.
It's going to be Annihilation. Anyway, that's Moon. It's great. More people should see it. You know, while there is a lot of ground to explore more of it, I mean, I know they've gone and made Mute, and they haven't made it an explicit sequel, but it's a good example of something that is just a one and done, and is just intriguing in the sci-fi space, and space. And that's Moon. Yeah, and I will never watch Mute, I don't think, but you did, and I salute you for it. And as a reward for having to suffer through that, next week you are going to make me watch a Quentin Tarantino film, as we do in Inglourious Basterds.
Yes,
You're very
my
excited.
favourite Tarantino movie.
I am not looking forward to this at all.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
I will do my best to keep my Tarantino... We're going to have like a 20-minute conversation about just Quentin Tarantino and generally next week, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I salute you in that we are finishing off the first season of this with 2 movies that are in a genre that you dislike.
I don't like war movies, and I don't like Quentin Tarantino. And our last 2 movies are Inglourious Basterds and, spoilers, Hurt Locker. So, there you go. Yeah, you know, sometimes in the spirit of Christmas, you have to do things that your friend would like to do instead of what you would like to do. So buy Zombieland, and I will watch a Quentin Tarantino movie. That is for next time. Do stay tuned to entertherealworld.com. Listen to Superhero Pantheon, Flooping the Pig. There should be a new episode of Mars Investigated anytime now. Mike and I have got a Christmas special coming up. Another pair of unconventional picks. We are on Spotify and iTunes and Stitcher and everything. We're on everything. If we're not on something, tell us and we'll be on it. We're on YouTube, for goodness sakes. We must go now and not watch Mute. But I'm going to go watch Final Space. Yay. Thanks, Ben. Thank you for uncovering the mystery of the clones of Sam Bell. But there is another mystery. Will there be movies?
Not movies you like.